Hey guys, so real quick, I know I always talk about crypto. Quick 5 seconds. This video is not directly about crypto. I'm curious if any of you guys are curious about. I'm looking about stock options to jump into AI on their precious metals initiative. So if this is something you guys are more curious about, I'm looking heavily into copper, but not just copper mines, but copper wire companies, copper storages, copper recycling companies, because I'm looking at other assets of wealth. And if you've heard anything about rare minerals, rare earth minerals being a big deal for AI, I've been digging into some research into it. And copper, lithium, nickel, gallium, a couple others I'm not going to be able to pronounce are the big hitters for it. And I've been investing some time looking into those stock options for long term, because though everyone always says I'm all in, maybe they are all into crypto, but I'm not. Like, I've got a NASDAQ with my wife that we just put a little bit into, right? We both have our own Roths, and mine is mostly tech stocks that are high dividend. And crypto is my thing, right? That's what I control. I like to manage. And I see a strong option if I want to get in a little bit on this AI, but I don't want to try to pick an AI winner because there's going to be a dime a dozen of them. So many AI and computing companies coming out. If you want the safest bets, long-term holds, it's NVIDIA and Tesla, right? Like, I don't think there's too much arguments on that. But what I'm curious about is this something you guys are curious about? Because I'm doing this regardless. But if any of you guys are more interested in this type of information to look for a different way to diversify, let me know in the videos about this, because I'm researching and investing, or will be investing in this shit anyway. So in the next few minutes, I'm going to keep this one short. I'm going to talk about my current angle. I'm allowed to change my mind, but at this point, I think I'm pretty set of what I'm going to do with AI, rare earth metals, in the directions I'm looking, because I haven't bought anything yet. I'm looking for certain price targets, certain catalysts, and I'm still learning. So if you want to join me in the journey of getting ahead of AI, because it's going to be probably the most massive narrative in general markets in the next 5 to 20 years, probably further. I'm open to hearing arguments on robotics and quantum computing, but that's also why I'm choosing the heavy metals approach. And I'm looking mostly copper. So the next couple of moments I'm talking about it, I'm going to give a little brief idea as to why. And I guess I'm curious if you guys have thought of the same thing, if you guys are doing similar or curious. But I'm not going to, my goal is to spend less than 8 minutes in total on this, just to give an idea, see if it's something you guys are interested in. So very briefly, guys, I'm looking at investing decently into copper in general. I was looking at all the rare earth metals, what it actually means, because it's not silver and gold or platinum. It's not what people really use for AI or infrastructure, but they are good sources of wealth. I'm not knacking at them whatsoever. But in terms of AI, in terms of electronic vehicles, in terms of batteries, so far from what I was researching, it comes down to copper and nickel. And I see a little tinfoil hat moment here real quick, guys. With here in the US, they just announced they're going to stop making the penny. And the reason why they're going to stop making the penny is because it is worth more to make and to hold the value of copper than the 1 cent. Now, we're going to come back to that in a moment. Copper is required for so many parts of electronics and AI and computing. The most obvious one is copper wire, right? We also use copper for parts of CPU chips and just all the computerization that's involved with it. Quantum computing requires a bunch of wire. I know we're talking about wireless, and that's where that comes into the microchips. Copper's used a lot. Not to mention they're doing things with mines where you have to mine things. They do a lot of copper piping. They use a lot of copper material. Nickel, I'm not looking to invest this heavily, but I also think it's a great option, is used for batteries and for building parts of cars and the casings of everything from batteries to compute holders and everything. And when I hear the fact that the US is going to stop making pennies, they're made of copper. copper recycling companies is now in my mind because I speculate. This is purely me. I think that copper is probably going to have a big price drop in the next year and a half because of all this new recycled copper from pennies, right? I mean, that's a shit ton of, tons of copper. I didn't look it up, but there's a crap ton of copper out there from pennies. And I think copper recycling plants is going to be the first thing to really benefit from it because they're going to have to turn all these copper pennies into something. And I'm expecting they're going to have US buybacks of copper pennies really soon. Well, they'll buy them back, probably at a penny a piece. Maybe they'll even do it if you have like over 10 pounds, they'll give a little benefit for it because they know what's going to happen to it. So I am looking into, there's a couple of large copper companies that are US and China based. Those are the two I'm really looking at. And that's going to be a big part of my portfolio. I'm looking at a few smaller companies, and these are the ones that are probably more up our alley because they're a little bit more risk on, or there's one like Ivanhoe Mines. I'll give that one right now because I'm very confident I'm going to invest in this one. It's a smaller company. It's considered the greenest copper mining company what's out there. It's in the Congo. It's affiliated with the US. And if copper really runs like I expect it will, the small mines are going to blow up. So I'm personally looking at Ivanhoe Mines. I'm looking at copper recycling companies. And if there ends up being a real copper reserve, maybe copper wire making companies I'm looking into because I see everything that's going to be used to build up into the AI space. So this way I don't have to choose which AI company I think is going to win because there's a shit ton of them and more is going to come out and most of them are going to lose. So I'm looking at the route of let me invest in the companies that are going to be supplying the companies that move into AI, robotics, and quantum computing. Just kind of like how with crypto, I'm not really big. I don't like CBDCs. I actually really hate the whole concept of it, but I fully believe it's going to be huge and it's going to be pushed. So I would invest into those companies. Similar kind of concept. So let me know what you guys think because this could be a one-off video, but if you're interested, I will do more over time as I at least make my moves. They wouldn't be frequent, I can't imagine. But as I start buying a little bit more into it, which will probably be in the bear market when I start taking profits, I want to diversify a little bit and I'll figure out my actual budget of how much I'm putting where. But I'm looking at starting this in definitely in 2026. And I've got price ranges already for Ivanhoe Mines. I'm not going to bring up the chart. It's floating around $9, but it spiked down to about the upper sevens a few times. It's stationed in the Congo. So every time there's a major tsunami or an earthquake, the price drops. So I can find a little bit of a catalyst that can be triggered pretty easily with that. So I can find my buying times. But let me know what you guys think. I'll cut this now. It's been great. Talk to you soon. Peace.